Music had been a big deal to me my whole entire life, but for the first part of it, I pretty much would just, you know, just like a kid, you take whatever's handed to you, and it's great. So I pretty much went from, in 1987, when I heard the song, I was 12 years old, and I went from, like, I think we're alone now, to, I think we're really fucked up, and I need to write a lot about it. Which was really important for me. So I remember sitting in my bedroom, which I did a lot as a 12-year-old and very pensive, even when I was listening to stupid, cheesy music. And we had this college radio station called WHFR. I grew up in Dearborn, Michigan. That was our college radio station, and I thought it was awesome. And at the time, the only way to preserve music was to hit record on a cassette tape. And I did that religiously. I had lots and lots of tapes. And if you've never had to do this, there's like an art to it. It's kind of important because I would record something off the radio, and then the song would stop, and then you have to hit stop immediately, and then you have to wait, and then the next song starts to play. But then you have to know right away, like, oh, I want that song, or you get like a piece of DJ talking. And it was a single cassette recorder, so that meant that if I screwed it up in any way, I would have to hear like these little blips and screw-ups, which I actually came to kind of love. I do still have a couple of these tapes, and I know exactly when the DJ's gonna be like, and it's 75! That came part of it to me, like I was sort of kind of added to it. And so I'm listening to WHFR, and they have a band that's in studio, and it's these two women, which immediately makes me go like, oh, girls can play guitar and like be really awesome and interesting. And I'm listening to this, and I don't record any of the conversation part. It's just music. So I never got to learn the name of this band, ever. And like seriously, it took me like a really long time, a frightfully long time to figure this out. And so I'm sitting in my bed, and I know this is going to be good, and so I hit record, and they start to play this song, which had an immediate and amazing impact on me that I still don't know how to quantify. And this is what I heard. And hopefully, oh no, don't be weird. Oh, this play. Oh, well, okay, my fancy speaker's not going to work. And I don't know if you can hear this at all. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. So I'm sitting in my bed, and like, they're filling all the space. They're not even singing yet. What's happening? It's so fast. There's so much going on. It's so layered. And then, hold up 1 second. Did she just say that she has a fish nailed to a cross on her apartment wall? It sings to her with glassy eyes and quotes from Kafka? Because, wow. What happened to me was, as I'm listening to this, my head caught on fire. Every hair on my arm stood up, the hair on my neck stood up. I felt a little bit sick to my stomach, and I felt like stars just exploded all the way down my spine. And nothing like that had ever happened to me before. It was like I was huffing. Right from the musical source. Not that I know what huffing feels like, I just heard. So my doors were basically blown off. And because it was a studio thing, there was a whole bunch of music from these women. And I was mesmerized. And there's a line in the song where she says, lonely is as lonely does, lonely is an eyesore, the feeling describes itself. And as a 12-year-old girl, sitting alone in your room with your journal and your multicolored 4 thing. That's what I'm talking about. This really resonated with DJ, and he was really annoyed with me, and I couldn't get any information because I sounded 12. So I took a walk one day all the way to Desirable Discs, which I swear to God I Google Mapped this. It's not that I had to walk with one shoe and one boot all the way uphill the whole time they called me Shabooty. That would be ridiculous. But I honestly did walk 3 miles to Desirable Disc and then have to have a conversation with this insufferably bitchy clerk. And I was like, lonely as lonely does. Lonely is an eyesore. The feeling describes itself. And this tremendously bored clerk was like, there. And he walks me over to like this row of cassettes where they used to trap the cassette in this like super long I'm trying to stick it out. And it had like words, you know, that were written on, and this one was just scrawled barely like an afterthought. It just said throwing muses. And I was like, cassette. Awesome. And so there's a cassette in there, and it's House Tornado, which was a huge college rock hit thing at the time for an indie band. And I'm revealing what I am such a hipster in this moment, and I'm embarrassed about this, but that's okay. I can suck it up. So I buy the cassette with my babysitting money, and then I march 3 miles back with it pressed to my heart like I can know it before I get home. And I go home and I pop it into the cassette, and some of the music that I had already recorded is on there, and it's perfect, and there's things I had never heard before, and my mind is blown, and I realize that what I love about this is that I can listen to it 1,000,000 times, and it's like walking into a mansion, and every time I listen to it, there's a new room that gets added. So it's music with rooms in it, and I've never experienced anything like that before. And so I was super, super excited, but there was no internet. So there's no one I could tell, and other 12-year-olds were like, whatever. So I felt kind of lonely about this. Lonely as lonely does. Lonely is an eyesore. Fast forward like so many years. 1996 was the first time I had access to the internet, and I was at work, and the first thing I did was put my job on the line to look for music. I found out there's still a band, and they still tour, and I did an actual Snoopy dance at work, and I thought, whatever, if you want to fire me for being this excited, I don't care, whatever. So then I had collected a lot of things at that point, like I'd gone and talked to different record stores, and it turns out this band is insanely prolific, and then Kristen Hirsch split off and did her own thing, and then Tommy Donnelly was her sister, and they did Belly, and that was a different thing, and so there's all this music coming at me, and I'm super excited about it, but I can't find this one song, Fish, which is the name of the song. I can't find it anywhere. I knew I had heard it. I could remember it with my brain that I had taped it on this really crappy Scotch brand tape that I had paid practically nothing for, and it broke, and I cried because the guts just spilled out on my face. It's like my drug just went away. So I knew this song was out there, and I couldn't find it, and I didn't know, even with the internet, like, how do I find the one version of this song that I remember? And finally I realized there was a compilation called Lonely as an Eyesore, and that exact version was on it, and I sent away for it, and it came in the mail in the middle of the night. I mean, like, I got it, and I was leaving to go see some friends and to go dancing, and I saw it, and I was like, oh God, I hope this is it, and I was so scared. What if this isn't it? What if this isn't the version that I remembered, and I still can't find it, but what if it is? But I can listen to it right away. I had to leave. And so I came home at 4 o'clock in the morning, a little bit wasted, and I popped the CD into the player, and from the very first note, I knew this was it. This is the same timing, all these weird noises. She wasn't afraid to make noises with her voice that sounded like instruments but weren't trying to be pretty at all. She just literally didn't give a shit. And I thought that was amazing. And I sat on the floor in front of the stereo and just like laughed and cried at the same time, and like all these feelings were running all over me, and it was totally amazing. So a couple years later, it's like 2008, and Kristen Hirsch is playing. I saw her at Little Brothers, and I met her one time, and she's actually a total sweetheart, which is also really great. She's kind of a jerk. And she was playing at the Detroit Institute of Arts, which is one of my very favorite buildings in the world. And I knew that I wanted to go and see her. It was a very like private, sort of intimate show. And I got to go with my sister, which was a really nice thing. And I'm sitting in the very front row, and the first song that she played was Fish, and I felt I was gonna have a meltdown. excited. I was so happy that at one point she's playing, she sort of looked at me. God, I can't even, this is too much. I don't know how to handle this. And since then, there have been other bands that have kind of hit me as music with roots in it. Like I really love the Dodos, and I really love Longwater, and they're fantastic. There's lots and lots of bands. Most recently, Joaquin Tudor Jones, who actually is also Max Normal TV, Max Normal Constructors Corporation, and you guys probably know him as D. Edward, but he has a whole different personality that is not the like freaky dude that you see, although that's also funny and lovely and compelling to me. So I already knew, and Captain Beefheart, that was another like musician that I could listen to literally, like I could never not listen to it, and every time I do, I hear something completely different. It's a totally different experience for me. So I'm standing in the DIA, and I'm waiting for Kristen Hirsch to come out and speak with her sweet, adoring fans like she always does. And I'm kind of standing off to the side, and her husband is her manager, and he's like a super hot dude. He's a very cute man.
Is he bald?
No, he's not bald, but he's very tall. He's just like I like him.
Sarah likes bald guys.
I like him tall, just like me. But so he's standing there on the side, and I was like, hey, that was a really great show. Yeah, they have a board, like a user board where people can ask questions, and their fan base is very she's completely fan base like supported. She doesn't have a label anymore. Like they call them strange angels, and they pay for everything that she does, and it's kind of an amazing model. But it was sort of the new part of that, and so I had contributed this story about listening to Fish for the first time and how it completely blew my mind and changed everything I thought about music. And Billy, her husband, had read it, and so I said, hi, my name's Sarah. I said, I'm witchy poo on the board. And as I am on other places on the internet, but not all witchy poos are me, so if they're doing something weird or gross, so, and he gets real excited and his eyes get really big, and he gives me this huge hug, and he goes, oh man, we love it every time you contribute to the board, that's so great. And as he's hugging me, I hear over the speakers this song that I recognize, which was a song by Captain Beefheart called Circumstances, which is this lovely, complicated, ridiculous piece of music that I love with my whole heart, only it was Kristen Hirsch covering it. So I was like, and I'm hugging her adorable husband who's telling me, thank you for writing all these things on this message board, and I thought, I'm just gonna die. That happened to me. And I said, what? Oh my God, and he watches me have this full-on like freak out, and he goes, what's happening to you? And I said, this is Circumstances by Captain Beefheart, but it's being obviously covered by Kristen Hirsch and her crazy, amazing guitar sounds. And he's like, yeah, I found this in the trash. She was throwing it away, and I rescued it, and I insisted that this was good. And so we're having this crazy moment, and I'm just like, oh, this is the best day that's ever happened to me. And so I left, everything was over, and I went outside with my sister, and I was like higher than I've ever been in my life. Like I'm just completely blown away. And on a whim, I called a friend of mine who lived in Detroit that I hadn't seen in a really long time. And I said, hey, I'm in town, and I was wondering if you were around. And he said, I'm usually really busy because he's an actor and a director and a writer, and he's constantly crammed with stuff to do. But for some reason, the next day he didn't have anything. And only because I was so elated did I think to call him, because I was also secretly totally in love with him and had been since forever. And he was available, and we spent the entire next day together. And it was totally from the high that I got from that song, finally coming around to this huge moment that we got to spend the day together, which turned into be one of the best days of my whole entire life, where I finally did tell him that I loved him, and we kissed next to a brick wall, and it was raining. And when I told him that I loved him, he took a very deep breath, and then he just cried, and we hugged each other next to the wall, and then he told me that he loved me and he waited for me for almost 20 years, and we're still together. So we've just celebrated 5 years.
Yay.
So,